Hi folks, and welcome along. Today we're taking a look at the Pilot Cinema in Kings Lynn, Norfolk in the UK. Now, according to Ideal Kinema trade magazine of December the 8th, 1938, a new luxuriously equipped cinema had opened in Kings Lynn in Norfolk. It bore the unusual name Pilot due to its situation in Pilot Street. Now, the architect was Keble C. Allflat of Kings Lynn, and it was built by C.D. Allflat & Co., also of Kings Lynn. It was of Art Deco design, with a little Egyptian influence thrown in. Now, the Pilot was owned by B.C. and J.E. Cooley, and they already owned and operated the Palace in Thetford and the Avenue in Brandon. The Palace in Thetford was the home of Dad's Army, and we have a video of the Palace and Dad's Army on this channel. The Pilot had a rather plain russet brick frontage with a more prominent centre section. Higher up there were 3 rectangular windows and a vertical flagpole holder on each side of the neon sign. The less prominent section of the frontage enjoyed 2 round windows on each side with Art Deco flutes. Inside, the pay box was immediately opposite the front doors. On each side of this were stairways to the stadium balcony, which seated 176. Now, on the extreme left and right of the foyer were passageways to the stalls. Now, these were in 2 sets of 323 seats, with a 5-foot wide aisle on each wall. There was also a small centre aisle and a traverse gangway at the rear. The total capacity of the cinema was 822. Seating was by Pixton and K. Lee, and the floor was fully carpeted. There was a 15-foot deep stage with 2 dressing rooms, one each side. The stage drapes were by Walt. This rather striking proscenium curtain featured a Spanish galleon and sea effects. Now, this is the original photo. The backward typeface on the curtain, though, is from the reverse of the newspaper that this photo was in. So apologies for that. I couldn't find any other photos of this curtain. The screen curtain was old gold satin with eau de Nil tassels. The projectors were Simplex E7 and Peerless Magnarchs on super simplex pedestals, installed by J. Frank Brockless Limited. It had a Westinghouse rectifier and an RCA high-fidelity sound system, and there was also a car park for 200 cars. The cinema was officially opened on Monday the 28th of November 1938 by the Mayor of Kings Lynn, with Walt Disney's Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs and Will Fife in Cotton Queen. Now, the Pilot ran happily for a number of years with a mixture of mostly film and occasional stage offerings, until in early 1961 Ben Cooley decided that the cinema had to close due to falling attendances, and the Pilot duly closed in early March 1961. Enter the fray second projectionist and assistant manager Malcolm Croot, aged 26. He bought the lease 3 weeks later. He lived with his parents on their 360-acre farm in Clenchwarton in Norfolk, and he told the press that if things are handled right, this thing can pay. I also plan to show classic films. People would much rather see them than a trashy new film. Helped by his father and chief projectionist Tony Rowlett, he worked round the clock to get the cinema ready. He appeared at Magistrates Court for the licence only 4 hours before he was due to open. The magistrate, Mrs. Kate Sherman, when granting the application, told him, "The bench sends its good wishes to the Pilot and wishes it every success." Later that day, Monday the 10th of April 1961, the cinema duly reopened with Walt Disney's The Big Fisherman, and 100 people attended that first show. Malcolm Croot was successful at the Pilot and went on to take over more cinemas over the coming years, one of which was the Majestic, also in Kings Lynn, in 1975. 2 years later, he spent £40,000 converting the ballroom of the Majestic into the 200-seater Screen 2. The Pilot Cinema was closed, though, on the 27th of March 1983 with Ben Kingsley in Gandhi. So ended 45 years of cinema there. Some members of the Cooley family attended the final night's performance. Ben Cooley Jr., whose father was largely responsible for opening the cinema, said afterwards, "We just had to make one last visit. At least it finished on a high note, with a marvellous film." The company who owned the lease, C&R Cinemas, stated that they would continue to concentrate all their efforts on the Majestic, adding that plans had been drawn up for a third screen to be added there. The pilot was converted into a DIY hardware store. Then in 1999 it became Zoot's nightclub, but this was closed on the 26th of January 2008. The pilot wasn't demolished until the summer of 2014, and then housing was built on the site in 2015. Now I managed to find one or two comments online from people who used to go to the cinema. One person said, "The 1940s youth of Lynn will be eternally grateful to Ben Cooley, the only cinema that provided double seats." Another, "We've had a lot of great memories there. We always went to the little sweet shop across the street and got a penny's worth of ice cream wafers to eat. I love the Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis movies." The Kings Lynn Players had a 6-day run of Me and My Girl at the Pilot Theatre in March 1954. That was great fun. Another, "I lived in Pilot Street for the first 15 years of my life and have many happy memories of the Pilot Cinema. Fred Calvert put on some great shows there, and I was even in one myself, aged about 8. The cinema was a one-off, so Art Deco. How popular would it be today if it was still there? A real showpiece." Another, "Many years ago, my own grandfather had a part-time job there, and I can remember that Granny had said she had to sew tiny pearly buttons spelling out Pilot on his usher's cap so people there could see where he was in the dark." Well, that's about it for this one. I really hope you enjoyed our look back at the Pilot in Kings Lynn. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe because that helps me an awful lot. And until next time, be good to each other and I'll see you soon. Ta-da.